We now continue the conversation in a fireside chat that takes these ideas further, bringing in fresh perspectives and dialogue.
For this, along with Dr. Gokul Madhavan, we welcome back to the stage Mrs. Meghana Dutta.
Please join us in welcoming them both to the stage.
I want to share one instance of how Gokul and I met. It was just a month back, maybe a couple of months back. It was our first conversation. We had an alumni get together at my place, and he walks in. And this is really the power of vibrations that I truly believe in. I thought he was the coolest person in the room. And I spoke to him maybe for a minute, 2-3 sentences. And the next question was, will you be the keynote speaker? That's all it was. It took 2 lines from him to say, will you be the keynote speaker? And he was a keynote speaker in the Bangalore session. He's a keynote speaker now. I think you should give him a round of applause because that's really cool to me. He was the coolest person in the room, and I couldn't imagine asking anybody else to be the keynote speaker. And sometimes it's the power of the connection. I never knew him before that. He just moved back from US just a year ago. And that's the power of human connection. And that's what I keep telling you. You need to build your human connections. You need to build your band of brothers. And he was the person who, when he walked in, he was there to, inspire all of us, not dominate us, because he has a PhD in Harvard, in philosophy, in maths, but he didn't walk in to dominate. He was just there to motivate and inspire us. So my first question to you is, all the students over here keep saying, what the heck do I do with my life? Right? So what was your journey? Because you took an alternate path. Mathematics is not something that's pursued by most people. It's not as exciting to them. And they don't really know how exciting it can be and how you can connect maths with maybe politics, mathematics and dating, the power of probabilities.
Absolutely.
Right? I just want you to share your journey on that.
That's a really good question. And I think in many ways, what my life has come out to is not necessarily a set of conscious choices along every single step. It was never my, if you'd asked me when I was, say, in your position, right, several decades ago, Gokul, do you think you're going to get a math degree and then a philosophy degree and then an MBA and then go work at a startup? I would have been very perplexed. That's not what would have come to my mind at that moment as my life path. I think what it comes down to is a combination of a few factors. One is I've always tried to pick something where I can maximize my learning. And that leads to these seemingly wild shifts in career paths. But that's how you learn. Like I feel like, if I walk into a room and I don't know anything about this topic, when I started my job at BNC, I didn't know anything about bikes, right? I knew about Excel and PowerPoint, but not about the engineering of a bike. And so this was an opportunity for me to basically go through an accelerated, engineering degree effectively. I'm still very early on. Please don't ask me to fix your bikes. But it's a way to learn. And for me, that lifelong learning is such an important part of how you choose your next step. You have all the skills you acquired, but then you can always learn something new and marry those in unique ways to do something really powerful with it.
I have only 2 more questions because I want to open it up for you, but I really want you to know the person behind this whole presentation. So the second one is a quote. The river doesn't chase the rain. It flows open to the sky and trusts the rain will return when it's ready. So my question is, a lot of them who are in their 9th to 12th are applying to universities and all that, and they're chasing. They're trying to build a profile. They're trying to maximize. So my question is to please explain to them how you did it, that you didn't chase, but you just followed your heart.
I think, especially in the world that we are in today, with AI changing the landscape of literally every industry and every career path out there, what's going to matter more and more and more in a world of artificial intelligence is going to be the human element. Human authenticity, human wisdom, and human connection. And by the way, I know you're all getting ready for college and thinking about what that looks like. I have friends who worked at the Harvard admissions office. And no, I'm not going to leak any of their secrets today. But what I can tell you is those folks are really, really good at sniffing out the folks who did something so that it's aligned in their resume versus the folks who did something because they truly believe in it. Again, I don't want to downplay doing things. Right? If you've volunteered 50 hours at an orphanage, that's a wonderful thing. You've made the world a better place. There's a difference if you do it because you want that line on your resume for community service, and if you do it because your heart is in it. And if you can follow that kind of passion, that authenticity will seep into everything you do, your whole profile, when you're looking to get into college, when you're looking to get a job afterwards. And I think that will honestly make the biggest difference in a world where it's no longer, how fast you do something on Excel or how quickly you solve a math problem. That's going to be a differentiator because AI can do all of that.
So this is the last question. This is a question that Dhruva asked in one of our many conversations that we used to have with the panelists, the speakers, and the students. Dhruva comes up in the Zoom meeting and says, I've never been able to explain to my friends why do I like math? What is the point of learning all these complicated formulas? Is there any use for it? He was never able to explain, and he said, they just think I'm nerdy, So then Gokul's answer to this, Gokul's thought process, not an answer, was, are there really social consequences for all of you because of the subject you choose? So my question to you is, authenticity that you brought in, nerdiness, and being cool, right? What is your definition of being cool today? I honestly feel being nerdy is cool because they're the most authentic, but I want your answer.
I completely agree with that. I think the coolest thing that you can be is true to yourself. And if that means being a nerd, be a nerd. It's a wonderful thing. Nerds have changed the world. Right? That's perfectly fine. If that means being an athlete, be an athlete. Be who you are. Be who you are, be who you can be in terms of your infinite potential. And if you walk that path bravely, that's what real coolness is. Now, this was not a lesson I was ready to hear when I was in school. But I think our youth today is a lot wiser than I was. I hope that resonates with them. In fact, I would love to hear from all of you. Like, what do you think coolness means? What do you think the social consequences are for choosing one subject over another or one topic over another? Let's hear from you.
With that, I think let's hear what coolness is or what questions you have for him.
Yeah.
We'll open up for questions.
The first step to coolness is bravery. There we have a brave young gentleman there. Yes, please.
Assuming that you choose to go down a path and you face problems and you decide that you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it like continuously. Is it a bad thing to quit? And is it a better thing to pivot? And what is the difference between pivoting and quitting? And also when you pivot, how do you make sure you bounce back stronger than you were before in your previous path?
That is an excellent question. And let me quickly rephrase that for everybody, right? I talked about this whole Bhumi Marga framework, right? The ground that you're on, the path that you take, and so on. And so, what's your name, young man? Akshar? Akshar. So he had an excellent point, right? He said, if you are on these paths, when do you decide this might not be the right path anymore? When do you decide to change paths? Does that count as quitting or does it count as pivoting, right? Pivoting, of course, is a word from the startup world that's now being used across the board. And that's an excellent point. Because the truth is, you are at a particular place in your life. You have your own dreams, your own aspirations, your own interests at this point. And based on that, you pick a path. And of course, you should try to pick a path that resonates most deeply with your core values at there. But there could very well be times when you realize that's not the thing you want to do. Maybe your interests change, right? Maybe your passions change. Look, I went into college thinking I'd do physics. I ended up doing mathematics. My parents were disappointed. And then after college, deciding what to do for grad school, I went and did Indian philosophy. And my parents were really disappointed. In fact, they were so disappointed that when I was about to get married, they actually apologized to my wife-to-be. They said, "We're really sorry. The guy you're marrying has made some really bad life choices. He's studying Indian philosophy, but we think he's an okay guy, so hopefully he'll keep you happy." Like, they literally apologized to my wife-to-be. So you can make these kinds of pivots in life. But the question is, are you doing it with a positive attitude? Are you doing it with this attitude that says, I think I can learn more by doing this slightly different thing? Or I think I can walk the path, quote unquote, of healing someone, maybe not by being a doctor, but by being a diplomat. If you have that positive attitude, then to me that counts as a pivot. To me, it only counts as a quit if you give up and you enter into a shell and you internalize a sense of failure. As long as you don't do that, there is no failure. You're just learning step by step. I think there's so much more you can do by doing that step by step. But great question.
Good morning, sir. My question is, why do you think philosophy plays a crucial role in our world today?
I'm sorry, it was a little muffled for me.
Repeat the
My
question?
question is, why do you think philosophy plays a crucial role in our world today?
In our world today? Well, if you're interested, you should come to the workshop in the afternoon. But in case you have other more fun workshops, like, and there's so many cool things happening, I think why I think philosophy matters more than ever before today goes back to what I said earlier. I think the human element of everything is going to be the real differentiator. AI levels the playing field. Beyond that, it's what you choose, what you bring as a full human being, not just your intellect or whatever it is, but all of you, your values, the choices you make, your ethics, all of that put together. And I think that's where philosophy comes in, because having studied philosophy and coming to articulate some of these positions for yourself will make you a deeper, fuller person, and one who is more able to learn and to adapt when the world is as uncertain as it is. That was a bit of a marketing answer, but we can always get deeper later.
We can take one more question.
We got folks from here, maybe someone from that side?
So, sir, I have two questions for you. The first one would be, what is your definition of success? What, according to you, is being a successful person in life? And secondly, do you think learning philosophy makes you a saint?
Okay, a saint. No, very, very.
I mean, not you. I mean, it's just a very generalized question that I wanted to ask.
Well, I'm definitely not a saint, so I think clearly philosophy failed me in that regard. What is my definition of success? See, I very consciously try to avoid talking about any of that here, but you've pulled it out. So I think that's really, I'm glad you did. I think for me personally, success comes down to two things. My family and how I relate to my family. And as long as we have a happy, productive relationship, to me, that's number one. And the second is not really having regrets. So when you're making the best choice you can at every stage, and when you learn from that and you use that to build to something better next time, I think that's the best definition you can have for success. Because again, like I said, everybody has different resources. There are random things that can happen in life that can knock you off the path, right? But are you being honest to yourself at every stage? Are you making the truest decision to yourself at every point, so that you don't have regrets down the road? To me, that would be what counts as a successful life. And the second point, does philosophy make you a saint? Does literature make you a saint? The truth is, none of that does. That's the sad but honest truth. You had highly accomplished philosophers and poets who were high-ranking officials in the Nazi government who had no problems with mass murdering millions of people. And so they'd studied all this stuff. But it didn't stop them from doing truly evil things. Now, maybe you could argue they studied it poorly. And now we get into a philosophical argument, right? Maybe you're studying it poorly and therefore you didn't get the right lessons. I think what it comes down to ultimately is, well, actually, I don't know what being a saint means. What it means to you, what it means to me, there could be different things. But let's say what you mean is, can it make you a better person? Can it make you a better person than you are today? I think it can help you if you have the receptivity, if you are willing to make yourself vulnerable, if you're willing to change and to be changed, then yes, it can make you a better person than you are. But if that's absent, and if you're looking to become a grander ego than you already are, then it's a dangerous weapon, and it'll help you do that, but that'll have negative consequences for you and for the world.
So with that, I would just have a closing note between knowledge and wisdom. I think knowledge is what you learn as a subject, and probably philosophy is what helps you translate this knowledge into wisdom, which is why probably the Gurukul system that was in India was always considered, the land of spiritual awakening. And Japan and China, I think, had names for India which meant center of heaven. And that's where I would like to close it. And I would strongly, strongly recommend people who hate maths, people who are scared of maths, to attend his session. People who love maths is different, but it's probably the most misunderstood, misinterpreted, and not valued enough, the power of maths in today's world. So I would really encourage, even if you've signed up for something else, please go attend the math session.
Or find me and talk to me.
Or find him and talk to him. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Really appreciate it.